Hey everybody, this is ZAVG Reviews.
The AVG Helper.
And the Mini VG Reviewer.
And today we were reviewing The Binding of Isaac for Steam download. Now this is the first time I've ever really done a computer-only released game, but the review is not going to go any differently. Binding of Isaac has a very basic story, but it's mostly about gameplay. The story is this. Isaac and his mom lived at home peacefully and happily, until one day Isaac's mom heard a voice from above saying that it was God. God basically told Isaac's mom that Isaac was corrupted. She took all of his stuff away and locked him in his room, and then God told Isaac's mom to kill him. Isaac then found a trap door to the basement where he went under, and now basically has to fight all these monsters and stuff. Why does his basement look like this? Why does he have to fight monsters? I don't know, and nobody really cares. The Binding of Isaac then, from that point on, really becomes a game that's all about gameplay.
I really like this game because there's a lot of different enemies, a lot of different items, and most of the time you're going to get a different room layout, so it's really fun.
This game is different every time you play. I mean, you get different bosses. There are different kinds of bosses every level. There's different kinds of levels. I won't spoil it for you, but they get harder on their way down, and there are even some rare items and bosses and stuff.
You go through a total of about 6 levels. At the end of each level, finding a boss, and at each level, finding your very own item room. That could contain something that you just take along with you. It could be a spacebar item that has to recharge from room to room, and it recharges on a rate depending on how good the item is. Or if you have the Wrath of the Lamb download, you can also get trinkets, which are little things that usually make things spawn more often or stuff like that. Binding of Isaac is a dungeon crawler, basically, which means you're going to be going from room to room, finding items and fighting enemies. Most of the time when you enter a new room, it will be filled with enemies and the doors will become locked. It's your job then to defeat all the enemies to unlock the door and continue from room to room. Your goal is to basically defeat the boss. Once you do that, you can go down to the next area. One of the really great things about The Binding of Isaac is that there are so many different things you can do when it comes to decision making. You get a set amount of keys, bombs, and very little money. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions if you have a lot of money, like do I want to save this key for my item room or do I want to open it for the shop because I have a lot of money? Or I just recently got into this boss battle, but there's a lot of other rooms that aren't open yet. Do I just want to go down and go to the next level, or do I want to explore the other rooms in hope of finding maybe a key or a bomb once the room is defeated? Stuff like that is very entertaining. Jake, what would you say is your best and your favorite item, spacebar item for Binding of Isaac?
When I first started the game, it was the Yum Heart because I would get hit a lot, and that would heal me up. That would heal my life. And I think it's called Charlie's Unicorn. I don't know what it's called, but it's like you're invincible and you can just attack enemies. I also enjoy all the tier items, like all of them. And they usually just help you out.
My favorite item would probably be the D6, which is an item that you get. It's a very hard item to get because the first thing you have to do is beat the game 6 times, or 7, I'm not exactly sure. And then you'll unlock a character, and then you have to beat the game with him. And the character that you unlock is really bad. But once after you go through all that trouble, you'll get the D6, and it starts with Isaac. What the D6 can do is, say you get an item you don't want in the item room. Well, you can use the D6 to reroll that item, and it's a really cool item to have.
That's the great thing about this game, is that it's chock full of different items, spacebar items, and trinkets and stuff like that you can take along with you, to the point where every time you play, it will definitely not be the same game you played before. The room layouts are always different, the map layouts are always different, and there's a ton of different items you can collect and get, to the point of where your setup's always going to be different. Sometimes you're going to get things that are going to raise one stat in particular. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of items that make it so a lot of things shoot with you. Sometimes you're going to be a health juggernaut. Sometimes you're going to get things that make you go up in the air and fly all around. You're going to get different items every time, and that's the charm of The Binding of Isaac. It's basically the same game every time, but because the layouts and the items are always different, the game is always fun. Not to mention there are many different things and rooms you can discover. You don't just go through the 6 levels and beat the final boss, there are many more rooms after that and places you can go to and things to discover. There are so many secrets in this game, it's almost insane, and so many items, it almost makes it to the point where you can play it over and over again and you'll probably never play the same game twice. Not to mention there's also little different kind of secrets, not even based on bosses and rooms. Like, you can find different colored rocks called tinted rocks. There are things sometimes hidden in other areas. It's just amazing how many things are in this game. Jake, in your opinion, what is the coolest thing about Binding of Isaac? What makes it better than every other game like this you've ever played?
The different types of items, because I like games where you collect different types of items, and the challenge. This game is really hard, and I usually end up dying.
I really like the replayability, honestly, because you can get bored from this game, but it's going to take you a long while, because there even is different colored bosses, which make them more challenging, and they even have different attacks, and they drop new items. So the thing I really like about this game is its replayability.
The graphics in this game are also kind of cute, even though this game is supposed to be kind of gross, disgusting, and all of the above.
It also has some humor.
Yeah, it does have some humor. For a game that really doesn't use a lot of dialogue, it actually is pretty funny. Not to mention the music. Jake, what do you think of the music?
Oh my god, I love the music.
Yeah, Jake
the dungeon music is just like the basement music. Oh.
Yeah, Jake loves the music. The music is really good, though. All around, Isaac has a lot going for it. If you collect all kinds of different items and stuff, one playthrough, defeating all the main bosses is going to take you about 20 minutes. But it's one of those games that's really addictive to the point where you're going to probably play this game for like 3 hours at a time. There's not many things wrong with this game, I can say. It's really tricky, it's really difficult, it has a great amount of replayability. The only thing is, this is definitely a Wikipedia game, kind of like Minecraft. For some reason, they don't really tell you what the items do overall. If you go on, they have a lot of different websites that tell you what items do and all that stuff, but what I don't understand is you actually get a collection of different items you can have, and you can see all the items you collected in your collection. If they don't want to tell you what the items do while you're playing, well, that's fine, but why can't you read the description in the collection or something? That part I don't get. The game is kind of cryptic like that at points, but overall this game is extremely fun. Jake, out of 10, 1 out of 10, what would you give this game?
A 9.
Matt?
I would probably give it an 8.5 out of 10.
I would probably give it a 9. Binding of Isaac is extremely fun and extremely addictive. It's a very fun game to play on the go, and you can just pick it up and play it. Well, it's on your computer, so you can't literally pick it up, but, you know, it's a fun game to just play when you're bored. Binding of Isaac on Steam is only $5, and the DLC for it, which adds a whole bunch of new enemies and items, is very cheap too. It's only $3. So what are you waiting for? Download Binding of Isaac now from Steam. Buy it, play it. It's an amazing game.